Happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope you are all having a green beer right now because it's been nuts. This week has been crazy. Last week was crazy. Ronnie and I were talking about, we're going to have a packed show. And then, bam, we have some other crazy news that's happening. Ronnie, are you even able to not be on your phone right now? Because I'm just refreshing Twitter constantly, all day.
It's funny you say that because as you're talking, I am flipping my TV over to NFL Network. We don't want to miss anything.
No, I got Twitter up right here. I'm refreshing as
I
we're in
got
the
it.
show. I'm waiting for something to happen.
Well, I think we know what we're waiting on, right?
Yeah,
The
we're waiting on
next
BW.
big news.
Absolutely. Well, we got some big news that we're going to talk about right now. And this just came across the line just a few bit ago. That's right. We changed the background to the Raiders. Davante Adams has been traded from the Green Bay Packers to the Las Vegas Raiders for a 2022 first round pick, a 2022 second round pick, potentially a player in there. There's some other details that are surely to come out about it, but holy cow. What in the world is going on? Wow. Just another player to the AFC West, eh?
Man, I tell you what, that AFC, that division specifically, I saw somebody on Twitter refer to it as the SEC of NFL. I think they might be right. I mean, you top to bottom, you can't pick the champ.
No.
I mean, you just can't. And I think it was NFL Network. I was kind of watching that a little bit, and one of the hosts on there said that you look at the quarterbacks. Okay, yeah, Mahomes might be better than a couple of them, or Herbert might be better than a couple of them, or whatever. But offensively, they're all pretty good. They're stacked at receivers. They've got running games. You look at the defense. Well, they all got pass rushers. They can all get after the quarterback. So it kind of comes down to the coach then, right? Like, which of those four coaches do you trust the most to lead that team? And if I had to pick one right now, I would go with the one that's done it the longest and done it the best, and that would be Andy Reid.
Yeah. It's not just Davante Adams, and we're going to have a discussion about this because there's a ripple effect that's going to go across, over into Green Bay and, somebody over there that said that they didn't want to be part of a rebuild. But Chandler Jones also went to the Raiders. They added a big-time pass rusher next to Max Crosby, so they all got him. I mean, if you look, they all got him. Chris Jones and
Frank
Clark, which we thought that he was going to be gone. They restructured his contract and made that work, which I bet you that had a lot to do with what's going on in the division, by the way. Then you got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa.
Man, that one's impressive right there.
That's crazy.
That might be the best of the four.
Oh man, I think it's the most prestigious of the four for sure. They're two people that have done it for a while. Matt, you want us to rank them? We might have to do that for sure. But then you got Max Crosby, you got Chandler Jones, and then Denver they got Chubb, and then I'm trying to think. They might be missing on the pass rush a little bit. I'm trying to think of if they have another premier guy on the outside. I know their secondary is really, really good.
Yeah. I would have to look at the roster because you're right. I don't remember the other one. It's nobody that, like their name doesn't pop out, of course. But, I mean, they can still that might be more of a committee type situation. But and Bradley Chubb, he's pretty good too, though.
Yeah, Randy Gregory. That's who it was. They signed him because he flipped from the Cowboys. Absolutely. Want to know what? If I got to pick those, I'm probably going Bosa and Mack, and then I'm probably going Jones and Crosby second. And then I'll go Clark and Jones, and then probably Denver's. They're more built in the secondary. But let's talk about some Davante Adams, though. This was not expected. The Raiders are some silent assassins right now. They got two big name players that nobody was talking about. The Raiders talking to them, any of that stuff, right? So now all of a sudden they land Davante Adams. He's linked up with his Fresno State buddy, which that's really cool, by the
That's
way.
cool.
I mean, that is super cool.
Yeah.
And they're back in it. We were talking about them I mean, this is as fluid as the NFL gets. On Monday, we're talking about that they might be the worst in the division. Now you look at the two players that they added, they're moving on up. They're moving on up. They're no longer 3B. Because I don't know if there's a 4. They're no longer 3B. I almost want to. I don't know
But
who I
maybe
can
they
put there.
are.
I don't know who I
Maybe
can
there's
put
a
there.
1A through 1D.
Man, what, they're not all going, 12 and what is that? 12 and 5.
12-5, but they could all make the playoffs still.
Yeah,
That would be insane.
yeah. They've
7
been wheeling
teams.
and dealing because right after they picked up Chandler Jones, they traded Ngakoue to the Colts. I guess the Colts are trading with people, by the way. Freaking just pull the trigger on the Jimmy one already. Like, I'm going nuts over here every single day. But the Raiders were able to pick up Rock Ya-Sin. He was ranked as the 6th best man-to-man corner in the NFL. Matt, you're stealing my thunder in the comments. But that's a huge deal because they were in the talks with Stephon Gilmore. He's still out there, and the Raiders were up on that list. All of a sudden, if they land Stephon Gilmore and they have Rock Ya-Sin on the outside, and they have those pass rushers, and they got Davante Adams, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, the defense suddenly looks a lot more scary than just Max Crosby. It's wild.
And who do you think? So let me ask you this. And I mean, we need to talk Davante Adams, but I don't know who's going to benefit more. Is it Crosby going to benefit more from Chandler Jones, or Chandler Jones going to benefit more from Crosby? That's going to be interesting. But let's talk about Davante Adams. Let's talk about their weapons, okay? Because this is a big deal. That they have been in need of a number 1 wide receiver for a long time. A long time. Since Tim Brown, probably. Tim Brown, Jerry Rice. They haven't really had a guy. I mean, they brought in everybody from Antonio Brown to lots of people.
They've had a couple, but they can't keep them. They had Amari Cooper, traded him. Well, the previous regime traded him. And then, of course, Henry Ruggs. We know what happened with that. So, I don't remember who the receivers were specifically when Gannon was there. Like when they went to a Super Bowl with
Tim
Gannon.
Brown, Jerry Rice.
Was that Brown? That long ago?
Yeah, it's that long ago. Yeah,
that's nuts. That's crazy.
It's crazy. And I mean, you bring up Amari Cooper, but he wasn't there for all that long. Was it a couple years? And before his rookie, before his rookie deal came up, they traded him. So they've been in. I mean, this is, to me, Davante Adams is the best receiver. Him and DeAndre Hopkins, and 1A, 1B. You can talk about that because I think they're the total package. They'll block. Yeah. They're really good route runners. We know what they can do with the ball in their hands. They're good yards after the catch. But then now he's paired up with Darren Waller. And don't forget about Hunter Renfrow in that slot. That is just going to be ridiculous. Okay. Hunter Renfrow is a beast. Okay. Yeah. He looks like your generic Mormon missionary. He's going to try to, if you fall in some water, he's probably going to try to baptize you. But that's what he looks like. But he doesn't play like that. That guy is unbelievable. He's absolutely unbelievable. So now let's talk about how this impacts the Green Bay Packers, because we heard Aaron Rodgers talk about, I don't want to be part of a rebuild. Yeah, he gets $150 million, but he also has nobody to throw to right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's just going to the NFC or the AFC, I mean.
AFC.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's kind of funny because we talked about back before Rodgers made his decision, and we were talking about why would he want to go to the AFC with the talent and loaded the way they were with quarterbacks. If he wants a shot at a Super Bowl, he needs to stay in the NFC, right? But now it's almost like the competitor and these guys are like, I give me some of that. I want to go over there and play with the big boys. And I get that. So, I I don't know who's going to throw to. Scantling, he's probably not going to re-sign there. He's a free agent. I'm sure he's talking elsewhere. But we were talking.
Tunyon's coming off a big injury, so their
Yeah,
tight end. He's coming
I
off
mean,
a big injury.
I guess he can throw it to Aaron Jones all day. But 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 you look at what they got. So they got a first and second round pick in this coming draft.
Mhm.
And we've talked about the depth of this draft as far as the wide receivers go and the speed, at least. And it is believed that there might be a couple of these guys in this group that could really step up in year one. So with 4 picks in the first 2 rounds, they could definitely reload. And if at least one of those hits, maybe they get lucky and they hit like a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase, and then I think everything's fine. However, on the flip side of that, I do feel like all of this drama and turmoil within the organization is going to affect other players and then their decisions whether to stay or not. Zadarius Smith, he's still available. He pulled back on his deal with the Ravens, so he's still an option.
Yep.
But does he want to come back to what's going on over there in Green Bay? I doubt it.
I mean, I see Troy makes a comment here. Yeah, they still win the division. That division's getting tougher. It's not going to be a cakewalk for them. Minnesota was right there last year as far as one possession games, and they're in a new regime, and I can still think that they were a talented team, and they still have.
Yeah.
Last I checked, they still have. Oh my gosh, the running back, Cook,
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook. They got Justin Jefferson. They have Adam Thielen. They have a good offense. They need to piece some things together, but it's the NFL. Like, everybody's good, and when you lose, we've seen what happens to even Tom Brady when he loses some of his weapons, like in Tampa Bay this last year when Chris Godwin went out and then all of a sudden Mike Evans went out. It was a big time different team. Teams defend you a lot different when they don't have to bracket a receiver on the outside. They don't have to worry about that connection and stuff, because you have to game plan for Davante Adams.
Yeah.
You have to game plan for him. So now all of a sudden you're playing people straight up, and yeah, maybe they'll hit somebody in the draft and all that, but that's going to be a work in progress. That's going to be a long process for Aaron to start to trust him, for them to learn the playbook, for them to, because you know how Aaron and Davante Adams, they would just look at each other. It'd be a run play, and he would just step back and throw a quick slant and, for a touchdown or whatever. So that chemistry is a big deal. Yes, it's Aaron Rodgers. Yes, they still have some guys, and yeah, I still think they're going to be favored to win the division, but this is a big deal. This is a big deal.
It's huge. And I think, well, let me ask you before I throw in my 2 cents on, does this season make or break the legacy of Aaron Rodgers?
No, I don't think it does.
I mean, what if he goes out there and has a terrible season? The team is 6-11. He throws for 3,500 yards and 26 touchdowns instead of 50 like he normally does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, that changes things. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so throughout his career, he's had Donald Driver, he's had Randall Cobb, he's had Davante Adams. He's had guys throughout his career. And this might be the first season he does not have that guy that he can count on and lean on. So to me, I think it could affect his legacy. I mean,
counter argument.
We already questioned
argument. What if he goes out and lights it up with nobody's? He could go out there and light it up.
Both extremes, either direction.
Yeah, it could go either way. Even if it just stayed normal, right? Like, even if he had the same type of production and you go, oh my gosh, he doesn't have, Davante Adams. That's unbelievable. And listen, you think about what you want about the person and his personality or whatever. The dude is one of the most talented throwers of the football on planet Earth that's ever existed. Flat out. He does some things that nobody can do, that people wish that they could do. He's thrown off his back foot, throwing it 60 yards right where he wants to put it. So
I would say that there's a couple other guys who could do that, but
well, yeah, but I'm talking like the whole package of being able, just a rubber arm, the way he can just dial it up is unbelievable. So if you got him, you got a chance. But when Montana lost Rice, it's a big deal. Or it was more Rice lost Montana in that scenario, but it's a big deal. And Matt, you're right. Unless it's the playoffs, poor Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. Faces that logo back there, he gets in trouble.
Yeah,
but this is a big deal.
You mentioned the Jerry Rice Joe Montana correlation. Um, that's exactly one of the reasons why I am a huge Joe Montana fan, because when he left Jerry Rice and John Taylor and Roger Craig and all those guys, and he went over to Kansas City with some receivers that I don't even remember. I believe there's one of them, his name was Parker, maybe Willie Parker, I think. Other than that, he almost took him to a Super Bowl,
Yeah,
if
he
not
did.
for the Buffalo Bill. But hey,
Well, yeah,
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 it's crazy, crazy.
it's crazy. This just is another player that's headed from the NFC over to the AFC, specifically the AFC West. And I'm, as an NFC fan, 49er fan, I'm looking at the conference and I'm going, I mean, Chandler Jones is gone. Von Miller's gone. Davante Adams is gone. Russell Wilson's gone, and
Randy
you just kind of
Gregory,
going down the list. Randy Gregory's gone. Like, you just go
Amari
down that list and
Cooper.
you're
I mean,
like,
yeah,
all right, Mari Cooper's, yeah, it's unbelievable. But speaking of yo boy, Von Miller, he gets a bag there in Buffalo. And as soon as I saw this, I knew that you were excited. Matt actually texted me. He goes, I bet you Ronnie is ecstatic. So I got to hear from
oh
you, Mr.
man,
Buffalo Bill. What are your thoughts on this deal?
he changes that defense. He really does. I mean, they were number one statistically speaking last season, and I was listening to Steve Tasker earlier today on the One Bills live show, and he basically said, so statistically, yeah, number one, but that Bills defense, they were never spectacular. They never like, wow, did you see that play? Aside from maybe the Micah Hyde interception against the Patriots, when they just destroyed them. But anyways, uh, with somebody like Von Miller in there, that changes that. Now it's not just okay. We're getting in the quarterback's face, which Buffalo's actually top 10 in the league in pressure rate. They were, contrary to popular belief, pretty good at that. It just didn't result in the numbers, in the sacks. With Von Miller in there now, it's going to open up Ed Oliver. It's going to open up Gregory Rousseau, Bookie Basham, AJ Epinesa. And I name those three specifically because a guy like Von Miller comes in and he can take those three guys under his wings. Yes, we've got Jerry Hughes, who's done a great job as far as being that mentor and that leader. But if you listen to guys from other teams, from the Broncos and the Rams, and they will tell you to a T, that's the kind of guy that Von Miller is. He's a great teacher. He's a great leader, and he will take those guys and he's going to teach them a few things. I mean, Von Miller has 115 sacks since 2011 when he came into the league, tops in the league at the moment. You add that to an already great defense, and especially in the back end with Trey White, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. Man, there's going to be sacks. There's going to be turnovers. I'm so excited for this. I've been asking everybody, is it September yet? Can we just get it going? Let's skip the next few months and just play the season. Let's go.
Troy hits the nail on the head right here. You have to prep for a player like that. He's absolutely right. And I have to think when you have Hughes on the other side, he's been that guy for a while.
Yeah.
I almost think that takes the pressure off of him, where he can just kind of go play a little bit, because he's been the focal point of that pass rush for a while. When they brought in Ed Oliver, that's an interior pass rush, and they're kind of working together on stunts. Now you add Von Miller, who has a whole nother bag of tricks, because Jerry Hughes, let's be real, he's not really a speed guy. He's kind of a power rusher guy, and he has some speed moves. But Von Miller's a speed guy, and he has some power moves.
Yeah.
So you have two different types of rushers that you have to prepare for. Not to mention a rookie, a young guy like Ed Oliver, who was drafted. He's going into year 3 now, right? Or God, is it year 4?
He's going into year 4, yeah.
Going into year 4. And you put together that rush, and you can say, go get Mahomes. Go after him. Go close out the game now. Because let's not forget, 13 seconds away from, in my opinion, having a trip to the Super Bowl, because that Kansas City Bills game was essentially the Super Bowl in the AFC, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Cool on the Bengals and all that stuff. But I really feel like that was the game. And the Chiefs took everything that they had to beat the Bills. And they just couldn't put it together 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And the Bengals were waiting for him.
Yeah. And as far as Jerry Hughes goes, unfortunately, he's still not signed yet. He is a free agent. They have not brought him back on yet. I'm hoping they do. Because yeah, you're right. It takes a lot of the pressure off of him, and I think he could get those sacks rather than just the pressures like he's been getting the last few years. Because he's older, he has slowed. He's not quite the same as he once was. But we'll see if he comes back. And to Matt Christie's comment, I said 2011, not 12. So since
He's going to be on his phone right
2011.
now. I know.
But yeah, it opens up so much. You look at that front four that they had last year, Ed Oliver. I mean, in Buffalo, they rotate a lot. There's, those guys don't typically play more than like 50% of the snaps. I have a feeling that will change a little bit with Von Miller. You got to keep that guy on the field. But they rotate with Ed Oliver and Starr, and AJ Epinesa would sometimes drop down inside as well. And then you had Boogie Basham coming in. You'd have Gregory Rousseau. All of those guys now are going to have like one-on-ones because, like you said, you have to game plan for Von Miller. That's going to open up so much more for everybody on that defensive side. And I can't remember a time when I've been more excited about a season going in, other than maybe back when I was in high school and we had Jim Kelly and Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, Andre. I mean, I can name the whole roster, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Matt, he gets his guys. You get your guy. Would you guys do something? Sign somebody. For the love of God, I'm freaking out over here. Just scrolling. Nothing's happening.
They signed a linebacker today. I don't remember the name, but they did. I saw that.
Yeah, he was a special teams guy. They officially signed him. Wonderful. I will tell you this. When it comes to a pass rush, though, the biggest deal isn't always the sacks, because you mentioned the pressures. It helps your secondary, because now all of a sudden they can gamble a little bit. They know that they're going to get home. And when you have a Von Miller, when you have a Jerry Hughes, they're all working together. They're stunting. They're getting pressure on the quarterback. That quarterback is not as comfortable as he might have been before. And he's got to rush his throw. And you know that he's got to throw it in 2.5. And you can gamble a little bit more, and you're going to get some turnovers. It's going to create turnovers, whether it's in the pocket or it's going down the field. So I think that's a huge pickup on them. The one thing that I was kind of curious about your thoughts, and I know that we spoke a little bit about this. Von Miller seems like he's getting a little bit older, right? He's in his 30s now. 6 years
next week.
Yeah, 33. So 6 year, $120 million deal. Now, 2 of those years on the back end are voidable years. You got to imagine they just kind of were able to spread that money out a little bit. What are your thoughts on the length of the deal? Because when I saw it, we're seeing a lot of 1-2 year contracts, 3-year contracts, right? I think Chandler Jones got 3 years. 6 years for Von Miller. I was like, wow, that's crazy. But what do you think about it as a Bills fan? I know that's like might be the last piece of your puzzle, but what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, if it gets us to Super Bowl, you can pay the man $220 million. I don't care. At the end of the day, so the cap hit this year is only $7 million. I believe next year goes to 10, and then year 3, I believe it's 17. Year 4 is when it skyrockets to 25 million cap hit, and that's kind of the year that the league is anticipating for a huge jump and the cap salary numbers, cap. the salary cap, because the new TV deals kick in. We know that the Direct TV Sunday Ticket deal is going to be renewed here soon with whoever company gets it. That's going to be a significant, like billions of dollars into the pockets of these owners. So the salary cap is going to drastically jump, and so that's going to be huge. Teams could afford a $25 million cap. But that said, yes, he turns 33 next week. I personally don't anticipate him being on the team to complete the 6-year deal. I mean, that puts him at 39. I don't know of any pass rusher that played that long, other than maybe Bruce Smith. I think he played for, I want to say 17 years. And that's partially how he got his 200 sacks, but he still did it. Pass rushers just don't typically play that long. They start to slow up significantly before then, but we'll see. I think 3 to 4 years is probably what we end up getting out of him.
Yeah. Well, you want to know what it's rare for Super Bowl windows to stay open for a significant amount of time. And I think this move was made knowing that there was a piece missing on the defense to be able to close out games. Quite frankly,
Exactly.
if you got a Von Miller back there, it's harder to buy time. It's harder to do a lot of the things that
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes
Uh,
does, that Joe Burrow
yeah.
does, that all
I've
these
heard
quarterbacks in the AFC do.
I've heard a few times now from analysts say that Von Miller is on this roster this past season. 13 seconds does not happen. He's that type of player. He closes the game.
Yeah.
He shuts the game down, closes the door, and Josh Allen comes and kneels it for the last, couple of plays. Unfortunately, we can't go back in time. Otherwise, I would. But I am super excited about this season. I will say I do have some little bit of concerns on the back end as far as our number 2 corner. I think Dane Jackson played well last year, did a pretty good job considering no Trey White, and they still maintain the number 1 pass defense in the league. But I would like to see a little bit of an addition there. But man, he is a game changer. He's going to change the face of that defense.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's no shortage of news we were on Monday and we were starting to put together the show. And then all of a sudden we have all these things kind of happen. I'm adding, these banners here and I'm going, my goodness, this is getting crazy. So we got Von Miller to the Bills, Davante Adams to the Raiders, but we're waiting on somebody. We're officially waiting on Deshaun Watson. Okay. And this is an onion that we got to peel back the layers on a little bit because there's a lot of factors into this. So it was reported that he was meeting with the Atlanta Falcons, have jumped into the mix. That's new since Monday. Okay.
Yeah.
Monday that they were not in the mix at all. Now all of a sudden they might be a finalist in this thing. The Panthers were there. The Browns were there. The Saints were there. So it was really 4 teams that were really in the mix of it. He turned down the Seattle Seahawks. Thought that's funny. Turned them down pretty quick. The Colts, the ownership of the Texans said, no way, we're trading him within the division. So now new news has come out. So the Browns are out. We're going to talk about that effect that it had. And then right before we got on the show, the Panthers are officially out. So there's down to 2. This decision was supposed to, we thought there was going to be a decision yesterday. It's kind of gone into today. Now it's looking like it's going to take potentially maybe over the weekend. There was a move that the Atlanta Falcons made on Matt Ryan's contract. He was actually due $7.1 million of a guarantee tomorrow. They pushed that out to Tuesday. Okay.
It's just strange how they we're not going to pay you.
Push out a guarantee until Tuesday. Like, what do you do?
What's
just take the white out on the contract? Is that what you do?
Yeah, that's odd. But I mean, and then maybe I don't know. Maybe Matt Ryan's like, oh yeah, it's fine. I'll wait. I don't know. That's just I'd been like, no, I want my money, bro.
Yeah, right. Because this is a big deal. I mean, it's an absolute big deal. So we're waiting on the Atlanta Falcons. So it sounds like it's going to be NFC South, which is going to be kind of cool because that's going to be, he'll get to go against Tom Brady twice, depending on what suspension he gets, 4-6 games. I've heard that it's projected, but we're sitting here waiting. This is holding up several teams. Okay, this is holding up several teams from making decisions at the quarterback position. It's holding up the Colts. It's holding up the Panthers. It's holding up, really the Saints. It's holding up the Seahawks. The Browns now are in the mix of that because somebody got their panties in a bunch. So
somebody got their feelings hurt.
Somebody got their feelings hurt. And I get it. Not everybody can be calm, cool, and collected, but he got his feelings hurt. But this is becoming a big deal. And when this bomb drops, it is going to have a ripple effect throughout the entire league because it's going to be a domino that falls, a huge domino that's going to make all these other things kind of happen. What are your thoughts on this? Because this is, we're 7 days away. Like 7 days ago, we weren't even sure if this guy was going to play ball. Then some news starts coming out, legalities kind of cleared up criminally for him. Now, all of a sudden, Like the dude's going to play. Not only that, but he's basically picking and choosing and having recruiting visits.
Yeah, I've heard he's recruiting Will Fuller to come and join him wherever he goes. I don't know. I mean, if
Will Fuller, the hamstring puller.
yeah, I don't know if it's me and I'm picking, I would probably go with the Saints. I just feel like they're built more for a run than Atlanta, mainly because Michael Thomas should be back. Hopefully, we thought that last year, but you give an ankle 2 years to heal, and I would think that would be plenty, right? But of course, there's Alvin Kamara. They got a good front line, assuming they can get Armstead re-signed, and the defense is fantastic. So, and they were, I want to say 8-9, or no, 9-8 a season ago, with 4 different quarterbacks starting for them. So, if you can get somebody like Deshaun Watson in there, I think that they can make a run, and especially with the way the NFC is right now, absolutely they could be one of the top teams. Now with Atlanta, there still needs work on the offensive side of the ball, or sorry, defensive side of the ball. Yeah, you got Pitts, great tight end, maybe go down in history as one
He
of the
probably got in
best.
trouble for a tweet today, by the way.
Yeah. And then you've got Calvin Ridley. We don't know what's going to happen with him other than the suspension.
All year long, though.
All
He's
year.
Not gonna be, all year.
Right.
Yep.
So Engage signed elsewhere. So where does that leave them there? Patterson may well sign somewhere else. Like, I don't see the allure of Atlanta. I really don't. Like, what are you going to hope to do there? Help him rebuild, and maybe in 5 years you can make it to a Super Bowl. I mean, he's
will
not
say that
particularly young anymore.
If you look at Atlanta, they're a little bit better off in a cap situation going forward than say the Saints.
Then it comes about money.
So so then it becomes, well, not necessarily just about money, but what the team's able to do. I mean, the Saints had to dig themselves out of $80 million in the red just to become cap compliant. Though that's going to come due. You can push it off for so long, but eventually, it's going to come due, right? So yes, I think within the next year, maybe 2, they can compete. But after that, it's going to be a problem. With Atlanta, they're already in the rebuild mode. They have been. And so them getting a quarterback and being able to acquire some of these things, the only problem is what they're going to have to give up to get Deshaun will put a big dent into that rebuild mode. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's tough. They have the pros and cons for sure.
I have to go back to the salary cap situation, though, we're looking at in a few years. I mean, they're projecting a $30 million jump just next year, let alone what it's going to look like in 2, 3, 4 years from now. So I really don't think that's going to be as much of an issue, the salary cap. But
you don't just erase $80 million. Like, they pushed all of that off, right? They didn't cut anybody. They pushed off $80 million of salary cap. That it will come due, and you can't just make it go away, even if the salary cap goes up. So like Atlanta, they don't have that. So they could potentially have a whole slew of money to sign whoever, whenever. And the Saints might have $10 million to work with because, yes, they might be under the cap because it explodes. But now they have all this dead cap or whatever it is where that money went.
It's just the money gets spread out is basically what happens. I mean, you look at the Rams are a good example. They didn't have a whole lot of, in fact, they were significantly over. I believe they were 3rd worst in the league in the salary cap prior to all the, the finagling of the salary cap. And yet they went out and managed to make room where they could have potentially matched Von Miller's contract, but they weren't. So then they turned around and used that money for Allen Robinson. So, and then I even look at Buffalo. They were only, I think they were like $6 million over the cap prior to all this. And then they bring in a guy with $120 million. I mean, it's almost like, okay, is this salary cap actually a thing? Or are you guys just saying that to make us talk about it? So I just don't think it's going to be that much of an issue going forward. They will find a way, just like they found a way to make 80 million disappear. They basically just stretch it out over a number of years. So for me, I'm more of in the win now mode. I don't want to go to Atlanta and sit there and wait for them to build around me and hope that the offensive line can protect long enough that I don't get my leg snapped in half. I mean, there's definitely pros and cons either way, and they both play in a dome, so you ain't got to worry about weather either direction.
Well, the Saints will have Michael Thomas to throw to this year.
Yeah.
most likely. So that'll be a big deal. But one of the ripple effects that this happens is Baker Mayfield. So this happened, what was this, Tuesday night? So all of a sudden Cleveland jumps into, hey, we want to talk about Deshaun Watson. We're going to have him. We're going to send our GM, our owner, whatever it is, and we're going to try to get him to come here. Well, that same night, Baker Mayfield writes a goodbye letter basically to Cleveland saying he wants out. He says, I'm done. Like, it's beyond repair. Now he requested a trade today officially, which literally right after that, Cleveland goes, no, we're not going to.
What are they going to say though?
Yeah. I mean, listen, if they get a quarterback, and I think they kind of revise that a little bit, if they were able to replace Baker, then they would consider trading him. But the big storyline here, and this is a ripple effect of the Deshaun Watson stuff, is Baker Mayfield now wants out of Cleveland. He feels like that bridge is burned. Whoa, that's a big deal. What are your thoughts on that?
I think this season he plays for the Browns, and I would not be shocked if he literally balls out. He's played good in the past. We've seen him play well. We've seen him take Cleveland to a 12-4 record. Or 11-5, I can't remember, and into the playoffs, and almost took out the Chiefs 2 years ago. If not for a questionable non-call at the goal line, it may very well have been Cleveland instead of Kansas City moving on that year. But if he goes out there and balls out this year and takes them to the playoffs, I would not be shocked if it's the following offseason, if it's Aaron Rodgers 2.0 type of situation, and I can't blame him for feeling the way he does. Nobody wants to be replaced or feel like they're being replaced, So I get that. But man,
I'm
it's
so
crazy.
fired up. I'm so fired up over that. So here's the deal. Okay. Here's the deal on that. My boy, Jimmy, he's dealt with Tom Brady rumors. He's dealt literally anytime a quarterback is available, they're rumored to go to San Francisco. And San Francisco has explored the possibility. They flat out said, well, yeah, if Tom Brady's available, we're going to explore that. They've said it. So for 2 years. Then they trade up to number 3 overall. They select his replacement. What does Jimmy do? Did you hear from him? I didn't see a goodbye letter to San Francisco. Nothing. The dude went out.
He did write one this year.
Well, yeah, it was over with. After he took him to the NFC Championship game and played his ass off, okay? That's what he did. You didn't hear anything from him. He even said that, yeah, it made me lock in. As the year went on, I thought about it because I really enjoy, playing with the guys. But to me, and I know that you can't make somebody react a certain way, and, there's all that stuff. But to me, this shows to me a lot about Baker Mayfield, okay? Like a quarterback, especially a guy that's drafted number 1 overall, you expect him to deal with the pressure. That's what that position is. Your franchise guy. They are the face of your franchise. They're the leader of that team. When anything's going wrong, you're supposed to look at that guy and believe that no matter how bad it is, we're going to make it through it because I believe in that guy.
But the team doesn't believe in him. The ownership doesn't.
Well, as soon as he says goodbye, when he feels some pressure, I don't blame him. I wouldn't believe in that. I wouldn't believe in that guy either.
No, look, okay. Look at the season. Now, I'm the furthest thing from a Mayfield apologist. I don't want to say never, but I'm not a fan. However, his receivers calling him out all season long. Media's calling him out all season long. He plays as hard as he can basically with one arm, and it wasn't his throwing arm. He does everything he can for the franchise. He's basically resurrected that franchise from nothing and took them to their first playoff appearance in decades. So, I get the feeling that he's probably getting like, wow, okay, well, what to you guys too, Now I get it. Some people, maybe they don't say anything and they keep it to themselves, and they're probably, venting to their close friends and wives or wife, whatever. But, I don't know. He's had a rough year, and in my opinion, that would be difficult for anybody to handle and keep quiet. The type of year he's had.
Ronnie, we've dated, like we've dated girls in the past, right? You know what we call
I
these
thought you were
people?
saying you and I date. I was like,
Not me, not
wait.
me and you. We call them drama queens, right? That's what we call them. Baker Mayfield is being a drama queen right now, and I want to bring on somebody who enjoys talking about the AFC North. He's a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I got to ask him about his thoughts on Mitch Berg. But Dawson, what's going on, man?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of
Hi,
course.
buddy. Hey,
What are
for
your
everybody,
thoughts?
really quick.
What's
Yeah,
This is Dawson, my son-in-law. He's also in our man franchise. Sorry, you're going to have to get knocked out of the AFC, but continue.
Maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see.
I don't know. You got to get past week 3 first, huh?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, hey, what are your thoughts on Baker Mayfield? Because, I've watched, the 49ers quarterback, Jimmy, go through incredible pressure. You're going to be replaced anytime a quarterback comes available. And now all of a sudden, Baker Mayfield, yeah, he's a scrapper and all that stuff. And, he's in a contract year. But the moment that, oh, hey, what's Deshaun Watson doing? And then he writes a
Yeah.
goodbye letter. Like, what's with that, man?
Couldn't handle it for more than a couple days. Yeah. And
Hours.
you talk about Jimmy Garoppolo not saying anything when those rumors were swirling, and guys like Tua in Miami last year too. He didn't really say much when those rumors were lingering too. So I don't know. I don't think he's a good enough quarterback to be kind of throwing his weight around like that. First of all,
I do agree with that.
No.
But at the same time, though, I do think that Cleveland maybe deserved to show him a little bit more respect. He said he played hurt all year last year. He's kind of turned that franchise around. I feel bad for him. Not really. But I don't know. It's a tough situation for anybody. But yeah, I wouldn't have said anything.
I would say as a player, no, I don't feel sorry for him. He's making more money than me still playing a game.
Yep.
But as a human, though, he's had a rough year. He really has.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you guys. I mean, okay, I totally understand that he's had a rough year, and I get it. He is a scrapper, and I totally understand. But what is this game about? It's about winning championships, right? And he's kind of had them on that path, and I understand why the fans are so embedded with him. And it really took me a couple days to kind of wrap my mind around it. But when Baker got there, they hadn't won. There was a span of almost 2 years where they hadn't won a game.
Yeah.
And then he wins that game on Monday Night Football, and it was free beer in Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
They were celebrating all this stuff. And then next thing you know, he's winning a playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers on prime time, their division rival, and they didn't just beat them; they beat them.
It was bad. It was bad.
Real bad. Sorry to bring that one up, Dawson, for you.
Still hurts.
Yeah, that one hurts. But I mean, and pardon my take on this, but it's almost like Cleveland, like the fans are like, Baker took their virginity a little bit on the playoffs. Like they're emotionally embedded in, oh yeah, that's our guy. That's him. But that's not the one you're gonna marry. That's not the one you're gonna marry. Like that's the guy. He took them where he needs to go, and I feel like there's a ceiling there. Like I feel like he's taken them as far as he possibly can. And the team isn't getting better around him. They lost OBJ. They lost Jarvis Landry. Like they're losing weapons and not gaining them. And now a guy comes available that you feel like when you look around the rest of the AFC, when you see your Josh Allens, you see your now Russell Wilsons, you see Patrick Mahomes, Burrows. We got to have a guy like that, and they know him more than anybody does, right? So
we got some breaking news here.
Oh no. What's going on?
49ers sign kick returner Ray McLeod.
Big move.
I'm gonna snap. I'm gonna turn this desk over right now. You stopped the podcast for Ray McLeod?
Hey,
former Bills guy too.
Punt return yards last year.
Yeah. Well, when are we gonna trade Jimmy? That's what I want to know. When are we gonna trade
Running
him?
out of time.
Yeah. Jeez.
I think
Ray McLeod.
I think when Deshaun Watson makes that decision, Winston and Garoppolo will be the next two that we hear where they're going.
Yeah, I mean, just how many more places does he have left to land, Jimmy? If the Saints probably stick with Jameis, and then I can't imagine.
I mean,
Like
that's
Browns
Indianapolis.
move on. Yeah, Indianapolis. But if the rumors are if Deshaun goes to Atlanta, then Matt Ryan's on to Indy. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can talk about Jimmy potentially going to Cleveland because if Baker wants out, was it Chris Mortensen mentioned that Cleveland wants an adult at quarterback. So
doing
let's say they
dirty.
get that adult. That was horrible, by the way.
I hear
Hard to
Arizona's looking
recover
for an
from that.
adult quarterback too.
Adult sized quarterback.
Hey, I'm good at those jokes, not you, Ronnie. What's going on here? I'm the one that makes those short jokes. That was good. That was a good one. But, he could potentially go to Cleveland, which then I would be all for Baker Mayfield going to the NFC West and maybe out to Seattle. I'd be very happy about that. That would be pretty funny. Or the Colts. Like Jameis Winston is jumping into this as well, but he's coming off an ACL. Like, I don't think that you can really, if Jimmy's trade value fell because he's having a minor shoulder surgery, you have to think that Winston's stock is down coming off an ACL. Like,
yeah, Winston's not really a scrambler though, and so I don't know that would. I mean, yeah, he's got to plant the feet and all, but an ACL versus a potentially injured shoulder for a quarterback, I think it puts a little more weight on Jimmy G in that respect. But yeah, there's still a number. I mean, you got Carolina too. They've been told they're out, so now they're going to be looking. So maybe they ends up with Jimmy G tomorrow.
That's true. Carolina 3 years in a row trying to make a trade for a quarterback, and hasn't worked out yet. But
have you guys heard anything from Sam Darnold? He hasn't said a word.
No.
Dude has not said one word, by the way. He's just happy he's being paid right now. Yeah, he's happy he's getting paid. He's like, I'm going to just shut up.
Yeah.
I'm making how much? I'm going to shut up. I'm not saying nothing. That's what he's saying. That's crazy. Well, hey, Dawson, I wanted to talk to you about Mitch real quick.
Yep.
So I know you're a big Steelers fan. And what are your thoughts on Mitchell Trubisky coming over? Do you view that as a competition, or do you think he's just going to take the job?
Yeah, I don't see it as competition. They might, word it like that just to give Mason Rudolph some respect, say that he can battle for the job. But
he lost his girlfriend today, too.
I saw that. He's having
bad week for Mason.
Yeah, it sucks. But I think Mitch comes in.
She'd probably rather date the starting quarterback.
Exactly.
Oh.
Not the third stringer, yep. Because I still think they go and draft somebody, and then that just pushes him right out. But I like the Mitch signing, though. It's team-friendly deal, and hopefully he rebounds like Ronnie, has been hyping him up too. So
you think that he's on his payroll? You think that Ronnie's on Mitch's payroll, man? The way that he's hyped that dude up.
Yep, certified Mitch lover. I like it.
I like.
So you got 3 of them. Do you think that they're in the market for a quarterback? Like in the draft, potentially? Or do you think they just stick with those 3?
I think they could be, but I'm also seeing they could add on to the defense. So I don't know. It depends on a lot of things. If they can't bring Juju back, then maybe there's a wide receiver in the first round too. But I think that they definitely could be if Malik Willis falls to 20, which isn't super likely. But if it works out the right way, they could be.
Yeah. One of your fellow Steeler fans, he's a big fan of Willis. He wants him back.
Me too. Yeah, let him sit for a year or two, and then you can see. But yeah,
I think that would be ideal for Willis. Didn't the Steelers just sign somebody on the free agent market on the defensive side?
Yeah, they got Miles Jack yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Jacksonville. Yeah,
that's
a big one. I was excited. Yeah,
he led the Jaguars in tackles.
Cleveland,
which he was a big time. So he came out of UCLA. He actually played a little running back and linebacker there. I really liked him in the draft coming out. So he's really versatile. I think on that defense, it's going to fit him well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a real big breakout year from him. He's a good player. So
yeah. Only 26 too. So still pretty young.
Only 26. Once they throw that 3 on you, you're all of a sudden old in the NFL.
Football years, yeah.
Football years, yeah. It's worse than dog years. I tell
Von Miller about to be ancient here in a couple of years. So.
Ooh, tell him.
No,
like I said, if we get one Super Bowl out of this deal, I'm happy. We'll move on from that contract, and because I mean, honestly, I think the 3 that we've got, Epinesa, Basham, and Rousseau, I think one of those 3 at least is going to be pretty good. But we've talked about before, defensive linemen take some time, typically. Not everybody's an Aaron Donald or a Javon Curse. So I can keep going on and on about that. So I'll just sit here and wait for the next conversation.
Yeah.
It's great.
I could go on and on about Ray McLeod. No, I can't. I'm just
hey,
mad about it.
Now that you bring him up again, and because I kind of wanted to, he's a former Steelers, Bills, and now Niners. All three of us.
We got the trifecta. We got the trifecta. He did lead the NFL in punt return yards last year.
He's actually a pretty good returner.
He had like 40 catches last year for the Steelers too. I mean,
39.
Decent slot.
Woo! Look at that, popping off to 40. That was good. I'll tell you what, though, I can imagine a player like that's really good in the open field being good in Kyle Shanahan's system. That we've needed a returner for a long time. The last couple of years, it's been a big deal. I know that I'm joking because I'm waiting for somebody like Melvin Gordon potentially. Because we lost Mostert. We're losing guys, and I know that they like to build in the draft and all that stuff, but I mean, damn. I'm waiting up for us to have about, I think, what is that, $25 million extra dollars to be able to do something with that we can't do anything with until Deshaun Watson makes up his damn mind.
Yeah.
Or whenever this happens.
It's the same with the Colts. They've got $70 million? And
they have done nothing.
And spent
nothing. Yeah. What are they doing? Are they investing in the stock market?
yeah, crypto. See what we can roll that into next year. Yeah, it doesn't work that way, fella. I tell you. Well, hey, Dawson, man. Oh, go ahead, Ronnie.
No, I was just going to say, as far as like the Colts situation, I've heard from multiple, analysts and whatnot talking about, like with Buffalo, the Josh Allen effect or the Patrick Mahomes effect. Yeah. Guys wanting to go to play with them, whether it's on the offensive or defensive side. So I wonder
waiting for him.
I wonder if the Colts are actually trying, but free agents like, you got no quarterback, man. So I'm going to go play for Allen. I'm going to go play for Mahomes. Good luck with whoever your backup is right now.
Well, there was a slew of players that's kind of waiting to see where Deshaun Watson goes.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that when it comes to a Colts or Brown, wherever that they want to see who that person's going to be. Meantime, the Colts are in a good spot though. Like let's not kid ourselves. They're going to get their quarterback,
roster,
whoever it is, but they got a good roster. And if they don't spend it this year, they're going to have it next year. So
yeah,
they're in a really, really good spot. They're in no rush to do anything. I mean, it's not like they need to go sign a big time running back, maybe a big time receiver, but
here's the thing though. Big time running backs are only big time for 5-6 years. So I don't know that you really want to necessarily just sit on $70 million and waste a year of his, of his prime.
But it's year one of those 3 or 4 years, though.
No, he's coming into year 3.
Well, yeah, but he just really broke out though this last year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He really broke out, and everybody's like, "Oh, that Jonathan Taylor."
Yeah.
Some guys do it for a while too. So
yeah, he's gonna be doing it for a while. That's gonna be cool. But hey, Dawson, man, loved having you on. This is cool. I love the fact that we can do this. So we're gonna be doing this a ton, especially when it comes to the drafts. I know that we have a live plan where we're gonna be live during the duration and having some reactions. So I think we're gonna have a bunch of people on in that episode. So love having you on, man. You already played your week 3 matchup?
No,
I'll get on that. Would you have been
tonight?
Yeah, get on.
A long week.
And speaking of which, we have another 29 teams that need a player. So if there's anybody out there who wants to join us, hit us up.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the NFC, by the way.
Yeah, and it's got to be PS5.
PS5.
Right, that cuts down the people a little bit.
Real quick.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, have a good one, Dawson. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Yep. Thank you,
later,
guys.
Man.
See ya. All right, man. So Baker Mayfield, he wants out, but we had some other news today, and this was one that you predicted. And Ronnie, you should pat yourself on the back for this, but Allen Robinson going to the Rams, that's something that you were kind of catching some hell from some of the Rams fans, because you do write an article for, was it Ramblin'? What is
Ramblin'
it?
Fan?
Ramblin' Fan, yeah. So you had predicted this a couple weeks ago, and you were getting shot down. Some names might have been thrown your way. Oh, we want OBJ, whatever. But it happened today.
Yeah,
So
it did, and
take your moment.
I loved every minute of it. As soon as, in fact, I didn't get the message initially. I think you texted me.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What are you?" Oh, I'm going straight to Twitter, and I'm going to remind. And it's so funny. Okay, so one of the responses to me was, "Hey, good job, good foresight." I was like, "All right, that's cool." But the main one that was like giving me the whole LOLs at me, and you don't know what you're talking about. He actually apologized to me today. Because I responded back
Are
to him
you
and said,
kidding me?
"Hey, no,
He
and he said, "I
apologized?
genuinely am
Whoa.
sorry." I was like, "Oh, no need for that. Okay. It's just all in fun and
Ronnie,
games." But I
when you
told him, I
get
was
an
like, "You know what?"
apology on Twitter,
I
that's
know,
big
right? It's
time.
crazy. But I was, I was humble in my response, and I told him, said, "Hey, 8 out of 10 times we're wrong on this stuff, but when we get one right, oh, it feels so good."
Oh man.
Yeah, that's a big signing for them because,
That's
in
big.
fact, I wrote another article tonight about the signing, and it gives the Rams the ability now to kind of slowly bring Woods back into the rotation and not have to worry about him going full bore right off the bat, because he's going to be. We don't even know for sure if he's going to be ready to go week one. So having Robinson paired with Cup, that's a huge, huge thing. And if you look down the
And Van
road,
Jefferson too, by
and
the
Van
way.
Jefferson. And then let's look down the road. If they can sign OBJ, and let's say he can come back in time for late season or a playoff push, which they're going to make the playoffs, you got Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Allen Robinson, Van Jefferson, and OBJ. Oh, and you got Cam Akers in the backfield. It's like Matthew Stafford's going to have a heyday.
Would you guys do something? Like, we need some. Making me worry over here a little bit. Just a little lose my stuff. You're absolutely right. I do think this puts a little damper into the OBJ thing, because
Ultimately,
that's
I
a lot of
agree.
money. It's
Yeah.
a lot of money for Allen Robinson. That's a number one receiver. OBJ is a number one receiver. Now he's coming off. This is not his first ACL. This is his second ACL.
Yep.
Best case scenario is that he can come back in November, and if he does come back in November, he is not going to be the same guy. It's going to take a while to come in. I've come off an ACL, and I can tell you year 2 is a lot better than the year that you come back. You're just trying to learn how to do those same things again.
Yeah.
So
especially as a receiver.
Exactly right. So I think for OBJ, I think for him, it would be great to go to the Rams. It's a familiar place that obviously he's kind of tied to a little bit, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he went elsewhere. And for the Rams, they don't have a ton of salary cap money just to throw out there anyway. This was a big deal. Like, I don't even know how they're going to fit this in. I'm sure that we're going to be seeing some restructures when it comes. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that. But that is, if you think about the possibilities, what they'll have with, Bobby Trees, Robert Woods, and Allen Robinson, and all that stuff. It's going to be a big deal that all of a sudden Matt Stafford has all these weapons to throw to, and Cam Akers, because that defense, they did take a hit. We don't know if Aaron Donald's coming back. We don't know that. He hasn't said one way or the other. I would say that he's probably leaning towards playing, but there was a lot of speculation about him being gone. They lost Von Miller. Okay. They lost
Where did he go again?
Oh yeah.
Eat
it up. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Their opposite corner of Jalen Ramsey, they lost him in free agency. Mm-hmm. I think it was today or yesterday. So that defense is going to be a little bit more of a rebuild. So they are going to need offense, and that's kind of the way that they're going. And let's be honest, the NFC's wide open. Wide open. Where the AFC they'll probably have 2 playoff teams that are worthy of being in the playoffs that are going to miss out because there's only 7 spots. On the NFC side, I think it might be a little top heavy when it comes down to it. And we'll see. There'll be some surprises in there, but as of right now, it's going to be different.
Can we just petition the league that if there's more than 7 teams in the AFC with a winning record, just swap them out for a couple of NFC teams who I would not be shocked if we have 2 losing teams in the NFC. Can we do that? I mean,
they'll be in the NFC. They'll be in the NFC East as well. They'll be from. We already know that. They'll be from the NFC East.
There is one, I guess. So first of all, I know that the organization is working with Stafford and Donald and trying to restructure their contracts. I'm actually surprised it hasn't been done yet. So that's in the the rumor mill. They did lose Austin Corbett, guard, and of course Whitworth has retired. So there's some concerns up front. But if they can get those deals restructured, not to mention the fact that the offensive line talent in the draft is as deep as it's been in years. So there's some options there as well. Now I know they don't have any early picks, but they do have some mid-round picks, which is the meat of this draft. So I think they'll be okay. You're right. Von Miller is a huge hit to their defense and the number 2 corner as well. So I don't think that defense will be quite the same. But yeah, in the NFC, I mean, average is going to get you in the playoffs, and above average could get you to a Super Bowl possibly.
Absolutely. Another big name. So where the Rams were able to add Allen Robinson, we've kind of been expecting this. Fletcher Cox of the Philadelphia Eagles was released today. They were trying to trade him. They knew that he was going to get released at some point, so they didn't really have a ton of leverage in a trade. But that's big news. He was released, so that's another perennial Pro Bowler, all-pro guy that is now out on the market that anybody can sign with. What were your initial thoughts on this for Philadelphia?
Well, from what I'm hearing, they're actually trying to redo the deal as we speak. But there's definitely some teams out there that could use some help up front from somebody like Fletcher Cox, and we talked about one of them the other last show with San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could you imagine if they could get him paired up with Bosa and Mack?
No, stop. They don't need any more guys over there, all right?
It's the
keep them in
AFC West.
a little bit.
I mean, I guarantee you there's going to be another big name going to the AFC West tomorrow. It's just going to happen. But no, with Fletcher Cox, I have a feeling he's going to end up staying in Philly. It's just a matter of getting that deal done.
I think that's going to be huge. They're doing some salary cap gymnastics over there. Tons of news. And when you said that there was breaking news, I thought we have Deshaun Watson news here live on the show. It was going to be unbelievable. You came at me with Ray McLeod. That's great. But we have a Twitter debate of the week. It was more kind of like, was it a poll, Ronnie? As far as
this
debate?
one was a poll, basically revolving around Deshaun Watson. The question was where he would land. The poll ended up going with the Saints, which so far the majority of the people are correct in that. But we'll see. And Atlanta, believe it or not, was actually the lowest percentage of that. So I'm going to pull up the poll here right now and look at the final numbers. So it had New Orleans Saints was 39% and Atlanta 15%. Carolina and Cleveland came out in at 22 and 24. So it's kind of interesting. The lowest one though is it's sounding more and more like it might be the one with Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, when you have guarantees getting pushed out till Tuesday instead of hitting tomorrow, there's something that's going on there. They're obviously heavily in the contention. Matt Ryan will be on the market then, because obviously he'll be Baker Mayfield most likely. I think will be on the market some way, somehow. Matt said that Seattle's interested in any quarterback right now. They do not want to go in with Drew Lock. Let's just be real. There's no way that Pete Carroll's like, wait a second, I said I was going to stay on coaching and now I'm coaching Drew Lock. That can't be real, but it is. They desperately want anybody that's going to come available. I wouldn't be surprised if a Matt Ryan could go there. I can't imagine that Matt Ryan would go to Cleveland. I mean, that's a potential thing that could happen. That could be, if Deshaun Watson does go to Atlanta, that's going to be something that you have to think it has to happen on the same day because of the salary cap ramifications. So it would have to be something there. There's some phone calls that are going along the league right now where Atlanta, if Deshaun Watson does choose them, they're working on their contingency plan of unloading Matt Ryan's contract, because the trade would have to happen on the same day that Deshaun Watson trade as well. So
and I think it's probably a pretty safe assumption that there's already a deal in place, and they're just waiting to pull the
Yeah.
trigger on that once Deshaun Watson makes his choice, if it's in fact Atlanta. There was a couple of comments too, actually, on the Twitter. Evan from Twitter said, "Please no, I don't want a QB for 2 more years and have to find another one." Deshaun Watson's pretty young though. I believe he's what, 26,
26.
27?
27, I think. Yeah, he's pretty young.
So you're looking at least probably a decade, maybe more.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Wherever Deshaun Watson goes, he's in contract there for a while too. Like wherever he goes, that contract is going to follow. He's in contract for till 2025, I think, or 2026.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the number. I know it's a pretty big deal contract.
Yeah, Matt, you bring up about. Let me just bring it up here. Baker leaving and then Jimmy to Cleveland. I do think that's a very real possibility. But the thing is, that would be a very similar situation as Deshaun Watson going to Atlanta and then Atlanta having a separate deal with a different team to unload Matt Ryan's, because Matt Ryan's not going to go to the Texans. I can't imagine that he would be pumped about that. So I would have to think that it would be to a different team that's in need of a quarterback, like potentially a Cleveland, a Colts, a Seattle, Saints, which I don't think that would go to the Saints. But
I think
you think Matt Ryan would go to the Colts?
I do. I think if Watson picks Atlanta, I think they may already have a deal in place, and we would hear, and it would be Indianapolis. That I don't have any sources, but that's just, to me, that makes the most sense. Especially for Indianapolis, for Matt Ryan. I don't know if he has a no trade clause in his contract or not, but for what he's done for that organization, I can't imagine that the ownership would just ship him off to Houston just to say bye without trying to take care of him, But I think Indianapolis would be the destination.
Well, they've been on the phone about a quarterback. They've been on the phone with Winston. They've been on the phone with the 49ers and inquiring about Jimmy Garoppolo. I got to imagine that Matt Ryan's in it. Now, the only problem with Matt Ryan and his deal is you look at Winston, he's the cheap option. Jimmy's mid-level option money-wise. And then Matt Ryan, I think his cap hit is like $40 million. It's pretty big for this upcoming season. So there's that comes along with
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis could take that, but then it's also what the compensation is. Like what does that become?
Yeah.
What are the 49ers asking for Jimmy? What obviously they wouldn't have to give any picks for Winston, right? But then, I mean, there's options that are out there, which creates a lot of leverage for some of these other teams that, like for the 49ers, they don't have to get rid of Jimmy. They want to, but they could hold on to him and be like, whatever, Matt Ryan, they need to get rid of him if Deshaun Watson goes there. So
if you're Indianapolis and you've got to pick between Winston, Garoppolo, or Ryan, who would you be going for? Who would be your pick?
I'm going to take Winston out of there. He turns over the ball too much. I know he's coming off an ACL. So then it really becomes between Jimmy and Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan's an older vet. So it depends on what you're trying to do. Matt Ryan, to me, would be more of a stopgap before you draft a guy, potentially. I think Matt Ryan's ability is way more than what Jimmy is. As far as what he's able to do, this guy was an MVP in the league in what was that, 2016? So if you're looking for, I guess it depends on what you're looking for. If I'm the Colts, I'm thinking more longevity. I would want to go with Jimmy in that area, but then again, you have his injury history. So like each one of these guys, there's pros and cons,
right,
with every single one of them. So it's not just a clear like, hey, I think Matt Ryan gives you what you're going to get from him. He's a vet that's respected in the league. I think he'll be able to get a lot of things done for you. Jimmy, I think he's the same thing. He has a lot of abilities, but you have to worry about his injuries. One thing with Matt Ryan is that dude he's been available. He
don't get hurt.
He has not gotten hurt. So I think if you were to lean one way or the other, I would not blame them. But then you're paying about an extra $20 million for him. Yes, they can do it, but do you want to really do that? Is that something that you really want to do? I don't know.
So I think
there's either one.
Yeah, there's definitely variables with all three. Age with Ryan and the money, with Garoppolo, the availability, and then with Winston. Yeah, I know he's turned the ball over, but he played well last year. He
Yeah.
played really well last year, actually. Um, and he's the youngest of the three. Personally, I like Matt Ryan in that situation, and here's why. I feel like he's a guy that could step in and instantly make the Colts another AFC contender.
Yeah.
And even with the contract, they have the money to absorb it. You're only probably going to have him for a couple of years anyways. It's a perfect situation to bring in a rookie quarterback either this year or next to sit and learn for a year or two under Matt Ryan, and then you just pick up right where you left off with the new guy, assuming that pans out. There's no guarantees there, of course, but I think for the Colts organization, that's the best scenario for them.
Uh, you're not wrong. Absolutely. I can actually see whether it's Jimmy or Matt makes them an instant contender. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like with
yeah.
what they have on that roster, it will make them an instant contender. I think it just comes down to I think it'll come down to the numbers and what you want long term. Jimmy's more of a long term solution, I think, for you. He's young. He just turned 30, and he has a lot left in the tank. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll obviously see. I can envision Matt Ryan easily being a Colt. I really, really can. I can see Jimmy going to Cleveland. I can see that, and I can see Baker going to Seattle. Is what
Who
I
gets left out
honestly.
here?
The
Carolina?
Saints.
Oh, you think the Saints get
Carolina,
left
they
out?
still have Sam Darnold. The Saints.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I think that yeah. But they don't have. I mean,
What's worse, Sam Darnold or Taysom Hill?
Yeah, but tell me what's attracting anybody to the Panthers right now?
Well, they did have
They
the
have
number
a
2
good
defense
defense
last year. Yeah.
They have a good defense, but what?
And they still have DJ Moore and McCaffrey. Pretty good line.
Sweet. I got to go against Tom Brady twice. What weapons do I got on the outside?
Hey, apparently everybody wants to play against all the quarterbacks in the AFC. So,
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, when you have
today, I was listening to a Khalil Mack interview, and they asked him about coming to that division with all those quarterbacks. And he's like, "Man, this is gonna be fun. I can't wait. This is why I wanted to be here." So, I mean, yeah, if you're like any player, I guess you either want to be with the best or you want to compete against the best, right? It's either one. So
that's what the NFL is.
Yeah. So
Baker doesn't know that. Baker doesn't know that. Baker wants to leave because somebody's better than me. He looked at a pretty girl. We were married. I don't know why it bothers. It really bothers me that he like freaked out like that. It really does. Like it bugs me so bad because I've watched a guy not say a word, and then literally he handled it for 12 hours, and I guarantee you 8 of those 12 hours he drafted that email, drafted that paper. 8 of those 12 hours.
I would say we've been hearing about Deshaun Watson to Cleveland for quite a while. And like I said, I don't know that it's just this one moment. It's the whole year building up where he's through the injuries, the OBJ drama, being called out by his receivers, having videos posted on Twitter of him missing open receivers. And I mean, it's been a long year, and I just think it all came to a boiling point for him. Now, yeah, I know there's other more mature guys in the league. There's more mature people all over this world that don't speak up and when their, feelings get hurt or whatever. But, and like I said, I'm not defending him. I still have my doubts about him as a quarterback. But let's just move on. I don't want to keep talking about this guy.
Well, we're going to have a ton to talk about. I mean, I guarantee you by Monday, we're going to have some Deshaun Watson news. I think next week is going to be every bit as action-packed because I think once he falls, and it's not just in the quarterback market, it's going to be, I mean, we still have to hear from Tyrann Mathieu. We have to hear from Stephon Gilmore, where he's going to go. There's a lot of big-name guys that are out there that are going to be dropping. So they're going to be picking their teams. So we're going to have a ton to talk about. This was a lot of fun, man. I had a blast this episode. I'm watching some Ray McLeod running through the Titans right now. Man.
He will get you at least one return touchdown this year. I'm calling it now. At least one.
Yeah, do it against the Seahawks or something. I'm sick of them. All right. Well, hey, I know we've been on for about an hour and 15. It's getting time, but I do want to tease some news. If you notice, we're two people, and only one of us has the last name Peebler. So we've kind of talked through this a little bit, and we are going to end up changing the name of it. We have a logo ready. We don't just want to change it. So we're going to end up making our official unveiling of our new name next Thursday. So we'd love for everybody to participate in that. I think it's going to be a huge deal. This is something that we've kind of done together. I will say that I got to shout out to my mom because she was the one that actually came up with this name and sent it to me, and I sent it to Ronnie, and he loved it. We were going through a million different names. It's going to be cool. I'm excited about it, but we want to kind of tease it a little bit, and we'll talk about it a little bit more on Monday, and then we'll officially unveil it on Thursday. What you think about that?
Sounds good. That's good. It's exciting. Something that we've been working on for a minute, and the logo took a little while to come up with, but we had some help on that, and I think we got a good one. I mean, I'll just going to throw this out there. So we actually got an email sent with,
This was
what do you
cool.
say, maybe 50 different logos on it.
Easily
There was
50.
a lot. Yeah.
There was a ton of them.
So I went through it, and I was like, ooh, I really like that one. That one's really cool. I love it. So I sent it to Brandon, and I said, I'm not going to tell you which one I like. I want to hear what you say. He texted me a picture of the exact same logo. I was like, are you freaking serious? So we both picked the exact same one, did not know what the other one was thinking. So that was pretty cool. It's definitely, it's a sign.
It's a sign. We've been on the same page with this for a long time, man. So I'm really excited about it. But you want to know what? We gotta jump off this. We're gonna have so much more news Monday. I just know it.
Oh yeah.
But you guys, thank you guys so much for listening. We had a ton of comments. We got to bring Dawson on. That was awesome. Until Monday, man. I think we're out. I hope you guys have a great weekend.
And we're out of here. You guys have a good weekend.